Okay, so it's April 21st, well, technically April 22nd, but as my best friend Dave would say, it's not really tomorrow until the sun comes up. So, April 21st, and I was thinking a little bit about disadvantages. Specifically, they have oh yes, candle. They have a system for disadvantages in GURPS, which I really like. Advantages and disadvantages. It's a little bit haphazard in the way that the points are distributed. You don't always know whether or not something, like if you were to create a disadvantage, it's not clear-cut, should this be -5, -10, -15, but the sheer quantity of disadvantages that they have on offer for GURPS allows you to do comparisons and be able to say, okay, so if this is worth this, then what is this worth? And I think it's very, one thing that GURPS is very nice is that it's very translatable to other systems. One of the disadvantages, of course, is that it is too focused. I think that GURPS suffers from being, at least in my mind, of everything being on 1 second. That is, you do everything, and it's only 1 second of time. So combat is over in like 10 seconds, or 20 seconds, or something like ridiculous like that. Because the amount of time that a normal player would put into a 1 second combat round, I think would be the equivalent to what a normal player would put into a 10-second combat round or a 6-second combat round. You still often spend the same amount of time thinking about it, and oftentimes you can have the same number of actions. I mean, there are sometimes some abilities that allow you to have multiple attacks per second, and you still have like move, attack, defensive maneuvers. You have a wide variety of choices as to what you can do, and then saying, oh, that all happens in 1 second is a little too fine-grained a scale, in my opinion. They do a lot of things very well in GURPS. The measurement of attack versus speed/range, and that being a cumulative thing, I think is a great idea. I think that they do a great job in taking care of showcasing, as I said, tons of advantages. That's another area that is a little too focused. Too many skills. Seriously. Like, God, I don't know how many skills there are, but yes, it makes it more, I suppose, realistic, but it's not necessarily more fun. Like, I think about World of Warcraft. When it really boils down to it, most abilities, most classes, they end up, it's 4 or 5 buttons that you end up pressing. It's complicated enough that it makes it interesting, but not so complicated that even a junior player couldn't pick up on the basics and do fairly well. That said, my Warlock DPS sucks right now. Still haven't really timed my Hunter DPS, but my Warlock DPS sucks. What was the other thing? Oh yes, I think one thing that would be useful for someone to spend some time on, if they haven't already, and I would love to find out more about this, would be conversations as combat. Now, I believe they made a mention of this in the Escapist Journal on extra credit, that we have an extensive system for dealing with combat, but we have a very poor system for dealing with conversation and making conversational situations into more of a combat system, more of an engagement, so that people can say, well, I think that when you're having discussions with people, you can say, well, this person's going for an emotional angle. Oh, now you're switching to a more logical angle. Oh, you're using threats. Oh, you're trying to bribe. And all these sorts of things are kind of tactics that one can use in the course of a conversation. So in a certain regard, you could convert role-playing, R-O-L-E, to R-O-L-L. Yes, not an ideal setting, and most people would discourage it, but it does have its utility, in my opinion. Anyway, more to come.